Hello everyone, welcome to this channel iCloud Excel. I am Chris and we're gonna delve into some of the most important best practices on HashiCorp Terraform. As you know, HashiCorp Terraform is the most powerful cloud infrastructure automation tool. Whether you are a beginner or you are leveling up your skills, this video is packed with actionable tips, clear examples, and visuals which can help you to master Terraform. Let's get into this. First and foremost best practice is basically to use version control system. You must use version control system to manage your Terraform configuration so that you can track that changes, you can review it, and if possible, whenever it is required, you can revert as well, right? You have all the history for who made changes and when changes were made. The second best practice is to reuse your code and modularize the configurations you have. One of the best part of Terraform is actually module, so that you don't have to write same code again and again for other team members. You create a Terraform code and create it as a module, and then you share that module to other team members. So this will help your infrastructure scalable in easy way. The next one is to use a remote state storage, right? So when you write your Terraform code, if you execute Terraform init, plan and apply, it will create a state file locally. But if you do that, only you can update or modify the infrastructure, no one else. Yeah, other can change that, but it will not be reflected in Terraform state. So the best practice is to store that state remotely, some backend storage, such as AWS S3 is the most popular one, where you can create a bucket and store your state file there. Here is the example where we have used S3 bucket for remote storage. You can use other services as well. There are other services available to do the same thing, but AWS S3 is most popular. On top of it, you have to enable state locking. So what it does actually, if your team is spread across different countries and different time zones, you want to prevent state file from corruption, right? So that only one team or person can apply the Terraform changes at a time. When same time two teams is gonna try, so one team has to wait and state will be locked. So it will prevent you from corrupting state file. So in this example, you see the only one person is making the changes, such as user 1, and at the same time user 3 is denied. But it's not denied, but user 3 has to wait before user 1 complete his work. The next one is to use a separate state file for separate projects, right? So try to keep all the associated infrastructure in one stack and maintain the state file for that, and each and every stack will have its own state file. That way you are not impacting other stack because of one changes. As an example, let's say you are actually creating VPC, and also you are creating stack of web servers. What you do is you create separate stack for VPC, because VPC is not the something every day you create, so it's a one-time infrastructure changes, right? But the web server, which is you can change daily basis, adding new instances or updating any properties of the instances or adding new EBS volumes. In that case, you keep EBS volume stack separately, and each stack will have its own state file. So it will be very less manual error, or chances are very less to have a state file corruption. Always use variables to make your template flexible, and also expose that as an output, so that other team member can take that output and use that output in their Terraform stack. right? And other team member doesn't even know whether some of the variables you want to keep it as an output. So when you do that, the output will be displayed when Terraform apply is done, and that output can be used by other team members. This is very good practice. So always use meaningful names for the resource. Like in this example, we have used A1, which is in a very cryptic name. It doesn't make any sense to use this kind of name, because you don't even know where that resource is, why this resource is being created, right? So instead, you provide some meaningful name, such as an app logs bucket. Like this bucket is for the application logs. And then another example would be like EC2 S3 access role. So this resource is for the IAM role, which is EC2 S3 access, right? So this kind of meaningful name actually helps someone to understand why this resource was created, and it also helps you to identify uniquely particular resource. So another reason Terraform is very popular is basically it provides you as an infrastructure document. Your team doesn't have to create separate document after a new project, but if someone goes through your Terraform code, he or she will know what are the resources are created. Even though someone is not Terraform expert, he or she can go and read the documents or like Terraform configuration files and will know what are the resources are created. So it serves as a document. Apply least privilege access, right? Always limit the resource permissions. Provide permissions what is needed, not more, not less. Actually what is required, right? So this is the example where all the permissions are given. This is not the least privilege principles we are following. So but another example, this one is actually we are giving access to only limited EC2 and S3 actions, so that user can only perform these actions, not any other. Always validate and format the code, right? So you execute Terraform validate and Terraform FMT to format the code. That way you will catch that error at the beginning. And also format command, FMT command, format or FMT command actually indent the code. So when you check in that code, someone will review the code and approve it. For them, it will be very easy to read the code because you already indented the code. So when you want to create multiple infrastructure stack from the same code, it's best to use the workspaces. So Terraform has a workspace features, so you can actually create multiple workspace for the same code, and it will literally create different stack for each and every workspace. This is the example I'm just providing you, how you can see what are the workspaces available. By default is a default workspace. You can create a new one. Here I created web servers, and you can switch between the workspaces to see what are the infrastructures are created, and even you can delete and create new workspace, right? Always execute plan before apply. Why? Because sometimes stacks or infrastructure stack is very large, and it may take 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes to execute the plan. And once plan is executed, it will give you what are the resources you are updating or creating or deleting, right? So go through each and every resource very carefully and clarify as yourself or your team that each and every resource is intended what you want to do. Once you clarify for all the resources, then you go ahead and apply the infrastructure change using Terraform apply, right? Can anyone apply code changes? No. So that's why you always do CI, continuous integration process, so that anyone can apply the code changes, but it will not go to the main branch. Because when you, let's say you created code and push that code, someone will review that code and approve, then only it will merge into the main branch. So that's a CI process. You must apply CI process for your Terraform infrastructure. It's the same applicable to when you apply that infrastructure changes. Can anyone apply that manually from his laptop? Practically it is possible. but it is always best practice you create a CD pipeline, and infrastructure changes should always happen through CD pipeline, so that whatever logs comes out, whatever the error comes out, it's on the version control system and CD pipeline details, so anyone can go and look at the logs and troubleshoot it. Let's say you ran the code from your laptop and all the error came in your laptop, and if you are not there, no one knows what are the error came unless you personally share them all the error, and that's a very conflicting situations, and that's the very kind of a bottleneck on you if you are applying code from your laptop for production changes, right? So it is always best practice to create your CD pipeline, which is a continuous deployment pipeline, to apply your infrastructure change. All right, so here is an example. The manual changes are denied, CD pipeline changes are allowed. So the recap, we have discussed about 13 best practices, right? These best practices, if you apply, you will have robust and scalable infrastructure, and definitely you will build your Terraform skill as well. Put a comment below which one you are missing here. Do you think any other best practices you are missing here? Also put a comment below which best practices you have already used or you are going to use it. Thank you for watching this video. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe and like it, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you.